anyone can make money. If you think about it, you can make money flipping burgers. You can make money flipping stocks. You can make money selling anything. Like money, anyone can make. So I focus on doing things that excite me because not everybody's doing things that excite them.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Screw It, Let's Do This podcast, a podcast where we interview entrepreneurs about their story. I'm your host, Therese.
And I'm your host, Shelby.
And today we have a very special guest. If you're local to Madison, you've probably seen his paintings on Mattresses, anything. A local artist, Liu.
Hi, hello. My name is Liubóv Szwako. I'm a local artist responsible for some of the biggest murals around town.
Heck yeah, you are.
I just enjoy playing with paint. So I just play with paint.
That's how I feel when you said that. I'm like, yeah.
That's a good one. I've never seen that one, so I gotta use that one. Maybe
instead of a mic drop, Shelby just like dropped a paintbrush
or like a can. Maybe I grab a can and just drop the can. Just make a.
You're welcome.
There you go.
So can you tell us, where does your entrepreneurship journey start? Actually, wait, I want to start even earlier than that. Can you talk about your childhood and like kind of your journey to Madison? That I think is really interesting.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Mexico City. I was born and raised in Mexico City until the age of 20. So I had my entire life not planning on living anywhere else. And then situations happened and I ended up in Madison, chasing love, met someone online,
Romantic,
the whole, yeah. And then I ended up in Madison. So I just fell in love with the city and I decided to stick around. So I've been in Madison for the last 14 years.
Okay, this can be offline if you don't want to talk about it. How do you move here for someone else? Like, how does that work?
So I met someone on Facebook and then we started talking, communicating and just liked each other and eventually developed into like, hey, you should come visit. And I'm like, okay. So I did. Then came to visit, spent 10 days here in Madison, and then went back home. And then she came to visit for a month. And then the last day she was there, she's like, hey, come live with me. And I was like, sure. Like, but she wanted to come like literally that day that she was flying back. Like she asked me in the airport, like, let's go. No. And I was like, I don't have my clothes with me. I don't have anything.
I can't just pack up.
I can't just like leave everything behind and not tell anybody anything. So I was like, just give me like a month to save some money up and to like close all the cycles here and like get my shit, ready. I liked it out here and I liked the woman that I was seeing back then. And when you're 20, you don't have much of that like, oh, should I do this or should I not do that? And you just do things. Do and that's kind of what I did. And it was cool. It was like, never heard about Madison before, never knew Madison existed, never had any idea of anything that I had to do. So it was kind of like taking a trip somewhere that I had no expectations, like I didn't know what was going to come out of. And here I am 14 years later.
Yeah. Were you an artist in Mexico City? What were you doing there?
I actually, I grew up, I went to private school and then I had the chance to go to college and my dad demanded, not demanded, but he told me that if I wanted college paid for, that I had to get straight A's. And I'm not a person that gets straight A's. So I don't like doing homework. I'm not I'm good at understanding what's going on in school, but I don't want anything to do with school after I'm not in school. So I knew that wasn't my route. So I told him, no, I don't want to go to school. Don't want college paid for.
Oh, wait, for college. So you said,
yeah.
No,
so I just started working retail in Mexico and then met the woman online and just came visit and kind of like everything kind of went down the drain after I met the woman. So it was good. It was a ballsy decision, but I definitely,
I cannot even imagine. Like I could not make that kind of jump. So that took a lot, especially like a different country, like not just like, oh, I'm moving a couple hours away, like a different country you had never heard of Madison. Like,
I know.
What'd you think of the winter when you got here? Were you like, what did I do? I thought
it was one of the coolest things because like back home, you only get like, you only get like 2 seasons. You get like kind of like really hot and then you get like rainy and maybe a little bit of cold, but it's not really like anything else. So to see like actually the trees stay green all year long. So just to see the leaves fall and then the snow and then the fall and like all the transition, it was just kind of like refreshing to me. So that's kind of like one of the factors that sold Madison to me. It's like, oh, it's actually a 4 season like in the book or in the movies, or I would never experience that back home. So it's just kind of like different air, different things that I've never been around before. So it was easier to kind of like tolerate the cold, and it's easier to tolerate the things that I wasn't used to, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's just new.
So when you came here in 2010, did you instantly just pick up a paintbrush and start doing your thing, or
No,
where does
actually,
entrepreneurship start for you?
I worked on service industry for like about 10 years. I worked, did my first share of working in bars and restaurants, all sorts of stuff like behind a bar, behind a kitchen, like a line, like a properly like nice restaurant.
Yeah.
So I never thought that I would do that. Like I never worked in a restaurant before. I never had interest for food. I never it was never like, oh, I want to work in a restaurant, But I ended up working there, and I learned a lot from it. Like I learned not a lot about just like how to be a good worker, but about doing things that you never do any other ways, like how to cook certain foods, or how to treat certain ingredients, or how to like pack something in the fridge, or how to store things. So it's just a journey of like just from working at Subway. I work at Subway. I work on a place in State Street for the longest time. So, and then I work in a bar in front of the Capitol. So it's just like working in places that were not just like X whatever, but they were like known, or they were popular, kind of like introduced me to a whole different crowd of people. And yeah, sorry, going back to the painting, I didn't do any of the painting. I was just doing that.
Just that.
And then one day I met someone who has a bunch of murals around town. And I wanted him to do some murals in my apartment. He has a mural in Lucille, in the basement of Lucille. And I was really excited about it. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, man, would you paint a mural in my apartment? And he was like, I'm in Mexico. I can't right now. And I was like, oh, word. And if you're from Mexico, I can hook you up with anything you need. And he's like, yeah. So I connected him with my friends in Mexico, just met him on Instagram. And then when he came to Madison, we connected and we were having a conversation like we're having right now, just you and like right now.
Yeah.
And it just turned out that he was a normal dude. And like, he was a really cool dude, but it was nothing like, you meet an athlete and they have like height, or they have the muscles or the build to be an athlete. Like the guy was just a normal dude. So that kind of like meeting him and having a conversation and interaction with somebody that I thought was a huge deal kind of like made me like, oh, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And it's not like to be like him or not to reproduce the things that he does, but it's just like, oh, there's no special talent that I need to have. I don't need to go to school to doodle. So kind of like after I met him, kind of like inspired me to just like, hey, you should just do it just for fun, for doing it. Like not even to try to become something, it's just to do it. And I found myself doodling and drawing in the downtime.
You just picked that up? You never doodled before then?
I wanted to be a graphic designer when I was younger, but just can't sit down with I'm not like growing up in Mexico, like the graphic design and all that things that have to do with graphic design were really outdated.
Oh.
Because the technology goes from America to everywhere else.
Yeah, like Photoshop and stuff.
Yeah, like Photoshop and all the tools weren't like really taught in school because they were really new. So, back in the day, I used to download them and try them out for myself illegally. You know how you download and crack out program. I used to do that. So I used to mess around with programs and then you go to school and they teach you things that you're like, well, this is like from 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So it's hard for me to like sit somewhere and listen to somebody tell me how to do something that's outdated. So that's kind of killed the spirit of going to school to learn about graphic design. It's just more like, I just didn't like the way the school was set up. It was outdated for me. And I was learning things outside by myself that I wasn't learning anywhere else. And I was always like the curious person. I was always like tinkering with programs and learning what this does and this, that. Like there's no YouTube. There was no tutorials anywhere. It was just kind of like a 14, 15-year-old dude and just downloading programs illegally. And you'd never be able to do this in Mexico the way I'm doing it here. The money and then the attention and the support and then the way like people are too busy with their lives trying to struggle and trying to survive.
In Mexico.
To care too much about art. Like art is not like, oh yeah, that's a career. It's like, no, bro, like get a job and like make money, So, and I'm sure it's some people like that here, but it wasn't possible. So the opportunity just kind of met here. I started doodling on the side and the doodling became into like really doodling and then painting. And it just literally just dived in head first. And I didn't stop. After I met that guy, I just never stopped doodling. And then doodling took me to like spray painting. And that's how the mattress kind of like came out of.
Wait, the mattress stuff was like the next.
Yeah.
We have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like that's how I first found out about you. Everyone saw you. So was it in 2020 you started doing the mattresses?
No, it was like late 2018, I think.
Oh, well,
So-
Can you describe what they are for people that don't know?
Yeah. So basically, I paint the mattresses. What I do is I like spray painting. I love graffiti. But since I'm an immigrant, I cannot do certain things because the laws apply differently to me. Sometimes they're harder to me. So I had an itch to spray paint. And my only way to itch that itch is to paint something. So I pulled over a cop and I was like, hey man, I'm trying to like paint the trash, but I don't want to get in trouble with anybody. I can't afford to get in trouble.
Yeah. Wait, can we just specify? I'm like, with this being in Madison, a college town, there's always mattresses on the side of the road during like move out weekend.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple weekends throughout the year and there's like, they call it
all
hippie
over.
Christmas or whatever, because you can just pick up furniture. So that's for people that are like, why are there mattresses on the side of the road?
So what happened is that I lived on Langdon, which is a frat row sorority. Like with all the fraternities and sororities are on Langdon. So it's a really popular street. And because of the nature of the kids that live in that street and like how they just move away and discard everything, it's cheaper for them to discard the stuff than it is to traveling with it. So they usually discard it, and like whenever they move out, it doesn't necessarily happen just in Hippie Christmas, but whenever they move out, they throw everything in the curve. So for me, it was like, how can I take advantage of that? And it was like, oh, the mattresses are like a perfect canvas. They're not only really big, but they're rectangular like a canvas, and they're usually white or light color. I was like, oh, and also it's not like people are going to pick him up and bring him back to the house. They can't do that. So it's just like, oh, perfect. I'm not, if it's like a table or if it's something else, it's like, oh, maybe somebody wants it to pick it up for the living room. But when it's a mattress, it's like, I don't feel guilty about defacing it.
No
So-
one's grabbing a mattress.
Yeah. So that was like the perfect intersection of like, I'm not doing anything illegal. I am getting all my ideas out of my head. I spray paint without damaging or getting in trouble. And I don't have to worry about cleanup because they're trash and they were sitting there. So I don't have to, it's just
When
like,
you pulled the cop over to ask him, what did he say?
he first like kind of like looked at me weird when I approached the car. Like, what is this guy going to tell me? And then when I
big
told him
backpack
that,
of spray paint.
yeah, and I pulled it. I had a business card there, and like I actually when I approached him, I was like, "Hey, this is me, and this is what I do." So he kind of like, I think he like, "Oh, this guy's serious." And then I was like, "Please tell everybody else that
Tell the whole squad.
that who I am and what I'm doing. And then if you ever have any issues, please come talk to me because I'm not doing anything I shouldn't be
Wow,
doing."
that was so proactive.
I would never have thought.
Yeah.
I would have just been like, yep.
It's just like my way of like, not getting in trouble. So that way, if I ever did something, I'd be like, "Hey, it's me. What's up? Like you told me it was okay."
Yeah.
So because of that, it allowed me to paint the mattress anytime. It can be in the middle of the day, or it can be on State Street, or it can be anywhere on the city and not get in trouble, which any other situation, if somebody saw you running around with spray paint, they would be like, "Oh, that guy's defacing something," So I think I found the perfect opportunity of like, opportunity meets preparation meets planning or whatever. So it's just the right time. And because of that, it just allows me to put my ideas in there without having to ask somebody permission. Like if you tell someone, "Hey, can I paint your wall?" They'll tell you, "Hey, yeah, but can you put my name or can you put my face or this or that?" But when you don't have to ask anyone anything, then you can do whatever you want. And if it's good, it's cool. If it's bad, it's cool. Like there's no limitations or there's no, you're not losing anything.
How many mattresses do you think you painted?
Probably around 300.
Wow.
It's a lot of mattresses.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like that's when you really, and maybe you felt the same way too, but like gain traction in the community and people are like, "Who is this guy?"
I think the when I started getting the most traction is with the murals. With the murals got more attention.
Like the laundromat one?
Like the flamingo one or the one that says Madison. I think those are the ones that got me really big attention. And then people started connecting the dots. Like, oh, it's the same guy that then paints the mattresses and stuff. So that's how it happened. Like, I just started practicing with the murals, with the mattresses, and then you get like all these ideas, and you like everything else. You practice something long enough, you start finding things that you're excited about, or things that you feel that are yours. You don't have to like imitate anybody else. You start finding your own ways of like, oh, I can cut the corner here, or I cannot cut this corner, or if I cut this corner, this is what happens. So you start like kind of like playing. It's like if I was playing with dough, you start like feeling the feel for it. Like, oh, this is what happens. And this, if I want it to be more of this is what I got to do. If I want it to be less of this is what I got to do. So that's kind of what I did with the murals, with the mattresses. It was like an experiment for me to see what is it that I liked. And then once I started refining my style because of those, then that's when people started like, I got the wall for the Madison mural. And when the Liz Lauer reached out to me, she was like, hey, would you want to paint the mural? And I was like, sure, but what would you like me to paint? And she's like, anything you want.
So how does that happen? So anyone that's not here, you have a couple big murals on like public spaces, huge buildings. Yeah. Like, how does that work? So you just get an email and they're like, hey, can you paint this wall?
Well,
from
at
the
first,
city?
for
Like,
me,
yeah,
it cost me a lot of like knocking a lot of doors. I knocked on so many doors and I was left unseen in so many cases that people just open the message and like don't even care to reply or like, it's just like, this guy is crazy. But yeah, I think it's just like people like, once they like your work, they send you an email and say, hey, I have the wall. Like, that's how that happened. I got an email from that. But before that, I didn't have any experience doing any public work like that. So it's just someone reaching out and like, hey, I have a mural if you want to do stuff. So when people seeing you practice out there and like not having a place to properly put your work, they kind of like, oh, let's give him a space for him to actually, especially when they like what you do.
Yeah. Like Garth, like you did Garth's wall,
Yeah.
which Garth was like one of our first guy on the podcast.
But yeah, he's a great guy, very supportive.
Yeah. Well, it's fun to like, when I see your work, I feel like I can tell it's yours a lot of time. So before we get too far, can we just say like, I almost forgot to tell everyone, can you tell us about the name of your, I guess, what do you call it? An artist's name?
Yeah, I guess artist name would be the right thing to say. The name is Triangulador. And the meaning of that in Spanish, Triangulador. That's how you'd say it in Spanish.
I like
but
that.
it sounds but you say that, people are like, what? So I just gotta Americanize it a little bit. So it means the maker of triangles. And the reason why is because the first thing that I doodled when I started doodling, it was a triangle. And it just felt good. It wasn't like I didn't sit and say, oh, what am I gonna draw? It's like I just started drawing and it was a triangle. And it felt good. So I kept doing the same motion and it was a bunch of triangles. And then when I stepped back and I looked at it, it was, oh, a triangle. It's like, I need to come up with a name because I'm not going to have my personal account filled with art. I don't want to do that. I want to separate my personal. I don't want people following me from personal stuff. So I was like, how do I connect my ethnicity or my background to what I do to make sense? So Triangulador means maker of triangles in Spanish. And it was available on Instagram and it was available everywhere. So I just took it as a divine sign that was a name, and I stuck with it, Triangulador, to just connect the Spanish, Mexican side of it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how the name came about.
So you had the name from the beginning. You move on to start your doodling. You're going to Mattresses. Then you get a mural. Is that the point that you start monetizing things?
Yeah, that's a huge question I'm wondering from an artist's perspective.
So the monetizing things has always been rough for me because it's I really enjoy painting. It's kind of very personal, and to put a price tag on something personal sometimes it's challenging because I'm not doing it for the benefit of getting something out of it. I'm doing it for the joy of doing it.
Wow.
So to have to put a price tag on something I enjoy doing, it's kind of hard because yes, it'd be easy to sell it, but it also is kind of selling something intimate. So I always struggle with that. But the pandemic definitely is the one that pushed me because I was working a day job and the restaurant closed because all the restaurants closed. So I was left out without a stimulus check or anything because I'm not a citizen yet. So it's just literally left me in limbo, I don't have any income and I can't go to work because everything's closed. And that's when I got my first request for the mural. And I was like, okay, cool. So I started the mural through the pandemic, and then the other mural came through the pandemic, and they just kind of snowballed from there. And the not having money from anything, that's kind of what forced me and gave me the good kick of hey, I know you don't want to commercialize. I know you don't want to sell this, but if you don't do this, you're not going to have any money. So the fact that a lot of people were redecorating their interiors, nobody could go anywhere. So everybody started using their money to redo their interiors. Everybody was repainting or refinishing or this. So a lot of people started buying my art. And that's what allowed me to just kind of make the transition.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It was luck. It was really
luck. It's the prepreparation versus plus, all those things.
Yeah, but it was luck because honestly, I wasn't out there advertising my work and buy my stuff. I've been very, 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 very insistent on not telling people to buy my work. Like I never tell people to follow my stuff. I never tell people to buy my
I'll
work.
tell them.
No. But
I'll tell them.
I'm just very like, it's so intimate to me that like, it feels like selling myself. So I let it grow organically. Like people that want to follow will follow it. And the people that don't, then that way I have people who organically care about what I do. And if I put something out there, I'd rather have 300 followers of people that care about it than have 5,000 followers that people that are just going to browse through it and just not care about it. Before I had my account bigger and I got deleted and I was like at 5,000 followers. And from that, I just never able to recover after that. It's the algorithm, everything changed. But it's just that you got to learn, because I lost that, I learned to put all my stuff on my website and not give Instagram the power of like having everything, of deleting my channel and just the one thing, you know, so.
Yeah. Well, so I have a couple of questions, like from the business, like money side of things. So like you have Murals, do you like charge per square foot? Is that how artists do it?
That's usually the route that most artists go for. And that's the route that I usually go when it's a corporate client, because that's how they work. Sometimes you can make them project based, but it depends. Like I personally go base-to-base situation, like depending on the client or the customer. You basically calculate how much paint you're going to use. Wow. You calculate how much time you're going to take painting it, and how much freedom you have to have on the input. You know, when it's something that has
to be so difficult to price.
I mean, it's just like you know, if you know how much meat you're going to use and how many vegetables you're going to use and stuff, you know how to like kind of calculate. It's the same thing. And then also the complication of things. If you're going to have to be in a scaffolding up in a ledge that is going to be wobbly, then you're going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to ask a little bit more because I'm taking a risk, you know, like I'm doing something that not everybody's willing to do. I do it base to base situation. I just want to like figure out what the project needs and how the project is going to benefit me. And sometimes even if it doesn't pay what I need it to pay, if it's going, the pros of me doing the project are going to add up to be better than just monetary gain, then I do that project. Because sometimes opening the door to things like that will bring you more projects and make you grow more than just focusing on like, oh, I got to make X amount of money in this project, you know? So I've like done a bunch of projects that I literally done just for a friend or helping out this or just donating or for a foundation that has no money or whatever. And then someone drives by while I'm doing it and it turns out that there's businessman so it's just putting yourself out there and believing in what you gotta bring and seeing it for the whole value of not just the monetary gain, but seeing the whole value behind the project. And that's how I like determine what I should charge for the project.
How many paintings would you say you do a month?
I don't know. Like I used to paint a lot. Now I paint a little less because my paintings are a little bit more complicated now. Before it was just kind of like very like abstract and very motion and full energy. Now they're a little bit more thought of. Like I have like layers or things that I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to mask this and I'm going to do a gradient here and this. So it just takes a little bit more process. Now it's more thought, you know, like I create a concept on the iPad and like I transfer it and this. So, and before it was just kind of like just feeling it, trying to find my identity kind of thing.
So you're creating stuff like designs on an iPad before you're painting that all the time?
No, like it's just depending on the situation. You know, for murals, I do it more. Before I used to just do them, like the Madison mural definitely was planned beforehand, but it wasn't really like, oh, it has to be this way. And that Madison mural, she didn't know what she was getting. And she literally hired me to paint the mural and she didn't ask me what she wanted.
Oh, this person seems cool.
And she didn't even see it. Like, she's like, I don't want to see what you're painting until I see it on the wall.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Can you imagine, you must have been so nervous to show her.
No, I was excited because I knew I was excited to paint it. So the main thing for me is I want to be excited about the project. If I'm going to be excited about a project, it's going to come in the final product. And if it shows in the final product, then that energy, everybody's going to see that. The energy you put into something, people are able to receive it. If you're a salesman that you're just interested in getting the money from the person, it's going to come across like you're here just to get money from me. But if you're a salesman that cares about what the person is looking for and you give him something that's going to help him, they're going to see you as like, oh, you're a great salesman because you told me what I need. And they're going to come back to you next time because you're helping them out. Even if you're making money of them, you're still helping them out.
Oh,
so
I agree. You can feel that.
Yeah.
When people come in and we just run away. Like, you know, when someone is doing.
Yeah, they're just using you. They're like, hey, I'm just going to squeeze money out of this person. And when someone really wants to provide you something that's going to add value to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
you have such feel like the word is holistic view of things. Like you're not just looking for the money, you're looking for like the betterment of yourself.
Anyone can make money. Anyone can make money. If you think about it, you can make money flipping burgers. You can make money flipping stocks. You can make money selling anything. Like money, anyone can make. So I focus on doing things that excite me because not everybody's doing things that excite them.
Oh, whoa, that's a clip. We need that to be a clip.
No, seriously. It's like everybody's focused on like, oh, how can I make the most money? Like, no, dude, if you do something cool, someone's going to see it and someone's like, oh, let me get that because it's so cool. Like you don't need to focus on the selling part. You need to focus on doing dope shit that you would be proud of. Because if you were in the other side that you had the money, you'll be like, let me buy that because I have the money.
Yeah.
So that's how it's worked for me. And that's how I do the projects because then that fuels it's just like, it's an immediate like recommendation. Like people are excited to have a piece in their house and it's not decoration. It's a piece that Triangulador painted and like, I know the story behind it. And like I learned from very early on my painting thing to not paint for people. Like do not paint because people want me to paint. Do not paint for the result or the excitement of people. Paint for myself. And once I'm happy with it, put it out there. And if it doesn't create anything, cool. That's how I treat my art. I do it because I am excited about it and I do things that excite me. And if they don't excite me, that's cool. And sometimes I've done things that don't excite me that have excited people. And I'm like, are you sure you want to buy that? And like literally, I've had like one painting in particular. I don't want to say which painting, but one painting in particular, someone was like, this is amazing. Let me buy it. And it was almost a $3,000 piece. And it's just
oh my gosh.
To think that somebody was willing to buy it and then take it somewhere else and put it in their house and like almost as a shrine. It's like, that's crazy, And I was almost about to paint over that. Like, it's just,
Nice.
I've learned, the biggest thing that I learned is like, you are your good side of yourself, but you're also the bad side of yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And those things that you don't like about yourself, make you yourself just as much as the things that you like about yourself, if not even more. So
you should write a book.
Yeah. See, this is what I remember when we met like years ago. You just like everything you were like talking about or speaking, I was like, yeah.
No, it's just true. Like we focus so much on Instagramming our own lives in person. Like we want to make ourselves pretty. We want to make this and that and that. But we trying to hide all the things that we don't like of ourselves. But there's might be someone out there that likes all those things about ourselves. And we're out here trying to like, no, it's serious. It's true. It's like, it's a thing.
I love
Do you think you're going to paint forever?
Oh, for sure. I have
You'll
a lot of
plans. You'll be like 95 and like...
Yeah. Maybe I'll have my designs and just have someone paint them for me. Like, like there's once you start getting bigger, you start like designing things and you have either interns or people that you pay for. Like,
I had no idea that was the thing.
Crazy.
Me and Therese are free.
Yeah.
I got a shaky hand, but
I'm working.
Hey, eventually gets better. And if not, then you can like own up to it. It's part of the art. That's the not hiding the things that you don't like. It's just owning up to like, oh, I move this weird way. That's part of me. Yeah, like I can use this to my advantage and have this art this way because nobody else can fuck it up like I can do it. Like everybody fucks it up differently. So the way I fuck it up is unique to me, Like
make that a clip too. That's a clip too.
So we talked about your murals and then you have paintings that you're painting, you're selling at, like, where do you sell these paintings?
So I don't necessarily have a place where people can just buy them. I have a website that has some of the work. It's kind of like a glimpse of what I have, but I don't like, usually it's like studio showings or like somebody like I used to do very often like studio showings where I had people come and see the work, but it kind of got out of hand to the people I just wanted to come and check out the studio and not really interested in buying anything. So I transitioned that into putting my work online. And that work went well. I got people from some out of the state purchases and stuff, and it was great. But it kind of killed the factor of meeting the people who are buying the art.
Oh.
Like to me, I don't want just my art. Just like if somebody told me, "Hey, I give you $100,000 and I take all of your art," I'm like, no, like I want to know where it's going. I know who wants to care for it. If it's just going to go in a building, it's going to be filled. Like no one's going to care for it. It's like selling a little bit part of me. So what I do is I like to meet people to see what they're about, see how they interact and how they appreciate my art. I had like probably one or two people that literally just wanted to buy art because of what I do, but not really care about what I did. It's just like the hype factor of like And it's just like, oh, I don't want to sell you my art.
Did
So
you
just-
say no?
Yeah, it's just like, it's just like, you're not buying it because of you liking it. You're buying it just to fit in or just to be like, oh, I have one of these pieces. And it's like, I don't want to be used for that.
What do
Like,
you
I don't
say?
want
How did you
What
say
do
that?
you
Yeah, it's
say?
just like, hey, or like if the piece that they asked, like, oh, sorry, that's not for sale. I'm like,
And then, oh, what about that one? Not for sale,
yeah,
man.
Yeah. Or I'm still working on it. Or it's like, I need to work on this. Like there's some windows that I have back there that people keep asking about them. And I'm not,
Those are really
I need to
cool.
figure out a way to hang them. And people are like, oh, well, I can build it and do it myself. Like, no, I want to do all of them for evenly the same way. So if they go to independent houses, they all hang the exact same way.
Wow.
And people are like, oh, well, let me know when that happens. Like, yeah, I don't know when that's going to happen. Like, but that's the thing, that it's just like learning to protect your energy in that way. I was saying, hey, I know you have money that I might need, but if I sell you that, then I'm kind of selling myself to you and like saying, oh, I'm subject to whatever you want me to do, or I'll do anything because I need that money. So if I really get to that position, I don't mind finding a fun like a 9 to 5 or
Wow.
yeah, I just don't want to, I don't know, sell out in a way. I like,
Wow. Yeah, your paintings are like your children. In a
yeah,
way,
it's like a record collection. It's like a music record collection. And if you like someone comes and tells you, oh, let me buy all your record collections, here's $20. It's like, but if they tell you, oh, I really love this record because it reminds me of this, and I would like cherish that record, would you let me buy it? Like, for sure, man.
Oh.
Like, that's a way. Like, if I see a piece that I really like, and they're gonna put it in a place that it's gonna look really cool, and I'm really excited, and they really cherish it, like, for sure. Like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the way you elevate your art. You just don't. It's not that you don't want anyone to have it, but you just want people that really want it to have it,
Mm-hmm.
because then they're gonna talk about it, and that's the best way to keep it growing.
Wait, you have merch?
I don't.
You said you have merch?
I release t-shirt, sweatshirt, but I release it in like a limited amount. The reason why I don't have merch is because I'm still trying to figure out something that I'm excited about.
Because you had black, it was a black sweatshirt with like a white little
yeah,
thing.
yeah, exactly. But the quality of the sweatshirts was basic. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't something that I'm excited about.
Have you seen a guy? There's a guy on like Instagram. I haven't seen it for a while, but a couple months ago I saw like this. People will show up in like white clothes and then he'll spray paint them like with different, and like then they walk away. It's like at art studios and
Okay.
stuff.
Wait,
So I'm assuming like that's his art form. Like he's not like making merch, right? Like he's
Right.
like doing it for people, and he'll do like, he did like a football on one guy, was like an NFL player, and he did like a football with like flames coming off of it. I don't know. I'll have to send it to you because it was just
Yeah.
interesting. I'm like, that could be kind of cool.
So that's kind of like the approach that I want to do. So I'm sitting on some screen printing equipment because I can like have someone do it and mass produce something and do a big run, but I don't want it to do that. I want to make each individual piece, take a photo of each individual piece and put it on the website. So all the pieces are going to be different, but they're not going to like, you know, when you buy something, it has splatter or something and it tells you it's going to look like this and it shows up and it looks nothing like that or looks completely different. So no, my point is like every single piece that I do, I want to photograph. And it's not, I don't want to do a mass produce. I want to do small batch.
some more art.
Yeah, it's going to be small batch because again, it's people that want to have it, people that like value it. And like if it's a little more expensive than normal, people understand like, oh, it's more expensive because it's not mass produced, because the guy did it himself, because each piece is unique. I think the uniqueness is what sells it for me. Like having someone take their time and dedication to build something that I am wearing or something that I'm having, it means more to me and I'm willing to pay the price than something was mass produced by probably a kid across seats. You know, like it's just, that's the way I look at it. And I want the same way I treat my art, I want to go like into clothing the same way. I want to do something that like, if I wear it, people are going to be like, whoa, what is that? And where do you get that? And I'm like, where can I get one? And like, oh, you can't because it's unique. So that's the approach that I want to. And I've been looking left and right for quality blanks and quality embroidery and quality screen printing. So it's just, eventually I'll have some merch, but
Merch drop
it's
coming
still
in
Call me-
2024, 2025.
Call me when that happens because I love, like, I just wear all business friends clothing.
Okay.
And I just love that. Like, that's all I wear pretty much.
I will do.
Specifically hats. So if
Hats.
I
you're-
love hats, yeah. Or sweatshirts. In the summer, we moved to t-shirts.
I think sweatshirts is where it would be because it's
A bigger
kind of like,
canvas.
you know, you can use it most of the year, maybe not in the summer.
I
but
will say my sweatshirts are like, my t-shirts don't sell at my store. I
don't
mean,
sell.
obviously mine aren't like artistic, but
yeah,
like
yeah.
the sweatshirts sell crazy,
Mhm.
but t-shirts I don't think I maybe sold one.
I think it's just harder because it's people like sweatshirts are more like general, like they fit any, like you can cover any shape or any form or whatever. And the t-shirts, you have to have the right form for them to look right. And that's why probably like, oh, I don't want to buy something that I want to probably test on and it's not going to look right.
I wish I would have talked to you before I bought 200 t-shirts. Collecting dust.
It's just like, think about it like as a consumer on the other side. Like think about it like, what would I buy the most? Or what would I buy without thinking too much? Like, what would be the things that would make me not buy it? Oh, well, the sizing, whatever. Like, if you start thinking about like, oh, is it the right size? If you buy a sweatshirt, everybody's going to like a sweatshirt. And if it doesn't fit, you give it to your sister, you give it to your brother or whatever, they're going to rock it. But a t-shirt, you can't do that. Like, oh, here's a t-shirt. Like, oh, it's not my size or it fits weird. You know, so you just got to, whenever you do something that you're not sure, just think about like, just do it as general as possible. So that way, it can go anyway.
Sweatshirts dropping in 2024.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
The merch. But yeah, the only streams of revenue is the murals. Murals work great in the summer or the warmer days because I can be outside and the paint doesn't have any issues with the cold. And usually all my fine art or like actual pieces and paintings, it's in the colder time, you know?
Yeah. Wait, don't you have a mural place that you think you should paint that you mentioned yesterday, right?
Yes. In Hilldale area, there's that new like Whole Foods and apartment and that parking garage.
Blank wall, yeah. I reached out to the people that property owners of apartments. I was like, hey, let's paint that wall. And they're like, oh, that's not our wall. So I don't know whose wall it is, but I used to do that. Like I still do that these days. I like send people messages like, hey, let's paint that wall. I don't even introduce myself. I just like, let's paint that wall.
That wall needs to be painted. Wait, like if I can find out who owns that, I'll be like,
please do.
Call Triangulador. It's massive and it's so ugly. I'm like, you have to do something with it. There's so many people that go past it. Like it's huge.
The more you start thinking about that way, like about anything buildings, when you see like a concrete building, you're like, think mural. People think that, oh, mural is corny, but it actually changes the vibe of the people. Like, it's proven that public art improves the well-being of people. It gives them a reason to go out and walk around, gives them a reason to
take pictures, pose.
Stop and like smell the flowers. It's basically a new version of a garden. Instead, like you can't have a garden everywhere, but you have blank walls everywhere. So if you add something to it, it uplifts the area. It usually creates more tourism towards that area. Yeah. And it's a good reason to stop and realize that not every building has to be gray. You know, it's
that's just like that mural in Nashville, is it? Where like has the butterfly
wings.
And it's like, I mean,
people wait in lines. Yeah. It's like
I've waited.
And it's so simple. And it's like just wings.
Your wall would be so much better than that.
I mean, I appreciate it. Yeah. But it's just art for everything. It's like people understand that art does not have to be for everybody. It's like music. You don't expect everybody to like country music.
What kind of music do you like? Country?
No, I don't listen to country music.
Nitro beats. No words.
The what? No, I actually like chill music, like lo-fi. But I listen to everything. I feel like a lot of the music that works for me is music that has a lot of like, let's go there and get it kind of energy. So a lot of rap, because of the energy that it has, not necessarily for the lyrics themselves, because sometimes the lyrics can be a little bit much. But when you think about like the energy that they have making that music, is
like
energy of,
by Usher.
Maybe some new updated music that's like 15 years ago?
You gotta go back to your roots.
Yeah, no, right? No, but it's like a lot of the rap music gets you that vibe of like, let's go get, like, if you think about
That's what your kitchen's like.
They have the positive, like, hey, I don't care about any of this shit. I'm gonna go get the bag. That's the mentality. So that energy translates into music.
I'll send you a few country recommendations for that.
Wait, can you give our listeners a recommendation of a song that like gets you to get after it nowadays?
If you want to hear something upbeat, maybe some Disclosure. I listen to a high beat, upbeat. If you really want to get into like, let's get it.
Latch. That was my favorite song of all time.
Yeah.
Literally never heard of this before.
Latch?
Disclosure? Oh. No, you've listened to Disclosure. You just don't know that you have listened to
Can
Disclosure.
we get a little, can someone sing a little? Now I got you.
There you go.
Oh, that. Yeah. Okay, I know. Yeah. I'm not much of a like, she's an EDM girl. I'm not.
What do you listen to?
Country.
And Drake.
Country and Drake. Just Drake, nothing else.
Wait, when
I like some like rap or like
your kitchen is always rap. Like every time I go back, like rolling balls, and it's just like
I guess you heard
guys,
it from her.
Do you guys find that you create differently with different music?
100%. When I listen to like lo-fi music, that means I'm trying to like get stuff done. Like there's this person on YouTube, it's called Study Music, and it's just like an anime girl doing homework. Maybe you guys have seen it. There's always, okay, anyways, for those who know, you know, and I'll just listen to that for like 10 hours.
Do you find yourself creating differently if you listen to different music?
100%. I just need to like, I don't know how to explain it.
What about you? Do you feel like you listen to different music does different things, or it's just like background noise?
Yeah, I think different things. Normally I just go off my mood. Like I don't really put it on to work differently. I just, if I'm in a good mood, I'll listen to whatever. If I want to cry, I'll listen to my cry playlist.
Cry playlist.
Yeah.
So that country music, or is that Drake?
It's a mix. It's a mix. It's a full mix. Like there's a lot in there.
Okay, cool. No, I can't tell you a single country music. What's it called? Wagon Wheel? That's the only song. That's the only song that I know.
That's funny that's the one song.
It's just like, I used to, the woman that I moved to the States for, she lived in the middle of nowhere.
So when we pulled up here, I thought we were in the wrong place. I didn't know where we were.
I agree.
And
I
you
walked
don't
in
know,
and walked out.
Yeah, they said go down in the basement. It's so hidden. Like, and then we had to go through a room and down some stairs
through a vortex.
Yeah. What's going
360 and a backflip and and the darkness and the light.
Cast a spell.
There's definitely ghosts down here.
There might be, and maybe some creatures too. But I think the part of the reason why I like it like that, I used to rent a basement of a house of like there was like literally regular people living in the house, and I did not live there, and I used to rent their basement, and I used to paint in the basement. So I kind of like always been there's no basements in Mexico. So that's cool for me. I always liked basements. So there's no basements in Mexico. That's the thing that I like basements. I just like to like keep it low key. I'm not a big person that I don't like the highlights on me. I don't like to this is the most I've talked about myself, like personally, and forever, because it's not about me. Like I'm not doing this to put myself like, oh, look at me. Like if I could like just go back and wipe my face and do the exact same everything without my face, I would definitely do that, because it's just, I love the privacy. I love the having your space without anyone expect what are you doing and stuff. So when you have in a space that you don't expect it to be there, it's like super secret. And also like it does something when you bring someone that's about to buy a painting and you bring them to a space that they're not expecting, and then they come through all that and they come down here.
It's really like, cool when you get down here.
It's like a cave, or it's like, oh, it's a hidden mystery. So it just gives them that like, oh, this guy's for real. So I just like that the privacy of it makes me feel more secure. And it's a thing that like some in the past, like artists get their studio shared, and then people are always trying to get in the studio or see if they can break in or this and that. So it's just kind of like, security also, like just making sure that my stuff is safe when I'm not here.
Do you ever invite anyone else down here?
So I usually have people whenever they're purchasing a painting or they see something they're looking at and we talk about the pricing and whatnot, they want to come look at it. I usually invite them over so they can look at it. Because I've had people like, oh, it's okay, I'll buy it anyway. I'll give you the money. I was like, no. I want you to come see it before you buy it, because I want you to have the full experience. So usually when people are buying a piece that we already have the discussion going on and they come and have a studio visit, I have them and show them the piece in person. But other than that, I have like some friends that are like painters, like artists. I have people over here, but for the most part, it's just me down here.
So we can't find this on Google.
I mean, you can find some place around it in Google, but yeah, it's definitely hidden, and I hope it stays that way.
Yeah. Well, we won't put it out there. Don't worry.
Except if someone's going to pay us $1 million.
Yeah, right. I'm going to sell their location.
We cut it with you.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. So can you tell us, when you're painting, is there a meaning behind the paintings? Like,
I think every painting is kind of like an experiment. It's kind of like a journey or an adventure. You start with like a blank canvas, and it's like, wow, what color do I feel today? Well, I feel a little bit more green today. And you start with a green, and you're like, hey, I like that green, but I would like it a little bit lighter. So it's kind of going for a hike. that's how I treat my paintings, you know, like going for a hike and being like, oh, I like this trail. Like, let me see where that goes. And then, oh, I like this one over here. And like, so every piece is an exploration of me, like trying to do things that I'm semi-familiar with, things that I tried before. And some of them are like maybe turns that instead of going left, I turn right. And it just, every piece is a little bit of that.
Do you have a favorite color? I just want to know for myself.
I use red, blue, and yellow, like the classic blue, red, and yellow. I use them a lot because it's easier to carry 3 colors than to carry all the colors. And the spray paint, when I used to do the matches pretty often, I carry all the paint with me in a backpack. So it's easy to carry 3 colors than it is to carry like 5 or 10 or whatever. So usually red, blue, and yellow.
I like the gold I keep looking at the gold behind you.
Gold and shine.
That's so cool. I really like the gold.
So one of the things that I like have not an issue with, but like it gets complicated is when I want to show some of my work online, it doesn't transfer. Like it doesn't, even if I were to take zoom in photos, you can't really see the texture. It looks flat. But then when you see it in person and you see all the textures and the layers and the types of paint that are different and stuff. So that's another kind of like thing that I have to figure out how to like translate properly, but also I don't want to like, it's to be easy to access on the website and just to purchase it like that. I feel like it has a disconnect of like, it's something you're purchasing. It's not art. It's just, so having people in person is usually the way to go.
Do you do like markets like Art Fair on the Square?
No, I actually was a judge a couple years ago. They invited me to be a judge for our friend the Square, and I didn't want to do it. I actually told them no, and they told me why, and I was like, because I don't want to tell people if the art is good or bad. Like I don't. What makes me an authority to tell people, oh, your stuff is not good or your stuff is not bad? You know, like why? Like what gives me the authority? So I told them that, and they're like, we understand and we appreciate your concern. And like, we have 4 judges because they all different backgrounds and they all like different things. And we take the 4 different numbers and we combine them, and whatever the average is, then that's what the qualification is. So like, oh, so I ended up doing it. It was great. It was great. You get to see a lot of art and how a lot of work that people put in and time, and it's crazy. It's hard for me to be in a setting where people are just browsing through work. It just makes me feel like I'm selling trinkets instead of selling art. It's more personal. I want to take my time with each person, explaining them why I do what I do, or like showing them, and like they have that questions about the painting, I can tell them. But when you're in a large setting like that, it becomes less personal. It becomes less intimate, and more transactional, more like, oh, I like that for my wall, boom. That's it. So that's kind of like why I stay away from showing my art in that way. It's just a little bit more personal. I've found that if I create a bond through the person and having an intimate one-on-one conversations, they get to meet a little bit of who I am and why I am the way I am. And again, the piece becomes something more special than just decoration on the wall.
I have a question. So you said that in Mexico, like being an artist, like it's not really a thing, like because people are struggling with different things. It's not really like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do this. Like,
right.
When you decided, yep, I'm going to do this full time, did you have like judgment from your family or from other people that you knew?
I think that was the biggest factor of me being able to do this, that I never had that. Like growing up, I never had the expectations of my parents to like be this or that. They never told me, oh, I want you to be super successful this or super successful that. It was just like, dude, do whatever you want. As long as you stay out of trouble. Like literally, my mom's rule is do whatever you want as long as you're not damaging or offending or being in somebody else's. Like if you're making someone else feel worse or bad about something because you're doing something, that's not good. But anything else than that goes. It just gave me the freedom of being whoever I wanted to, and never gave me the weight of having the expectations of like, you have to deliver this to me, or you have to have kids, or you have to live life this way or that. So that, not having that weight on my shoulders, allowed me to just wander off, just being like, oh, I don't have anyone waiting for me to do anything. It's just, I can wander off.
So what did they say when you said, yeah, I quit my job, or well, you didn't quit your job, you lost your job, right? Because the restaurant shut down. I'm going to start painting now full time.
I don't think they really question it. I think they had an idea and they asked me why I do certain things certain way. I don't think they fully still get it to the point that I personally get it, but it's okay. It's just like understanding like what I did, said in my life. My mom told me, she's like, hey, I understand when I moved here, like I understand you're living your life, you're doing something, your thing. So they're very good at respecting whatever I want to do as long as I'm out of trouble. And when I started painting and I really started taking it seriously, my mom told me, yeah, that's what you always like to do. And that's why you're good at it. I was like, wow. So it was kind of acknowledgement. It was kind of a half acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like, I'm proud of you. Just like, yeah, you were always good at that. Like,
yeah.
I figure you would end up doing something like that. It's just like, and my dad, there's not a lot of acknowledgement from him. It's just cool. You're doing something that you like. That's it. So he's never been like super involved. He's just like in the background kind of thing. So I don't know. It's hard to do something that your family is not familiar with and have him understand it.
Yeah.
And have him understand your decisions and why you do it. But at the end of the day, like even adults, they're just kids. Like everyone grows up with trauma and some people don't address their trauma ever. And they're literally adults with fears and confusion and uncertainties and whatever. It's just how much of that you decide to actually acknowledge and do action about it, you know? So once you start realizing that everybody's the same thing, like 80-year-old, the same thing as a 20-year-old, it's just literally how you go about life and how much you learn from the things that happen to you in life and how much you actually are proficient at being like, oh, this is not all about myself. It's not about me. It's like, you start building like a life different. It's
Have you been in therapy? Because you are just so good at, I don't even know.
I started a little bit. I have not in a minute, but as crazy as it sounds, obviously everybody needs therapy, but my art has been a lot of my therapy. I went from trying to fit in like when I was working in the bar industry, I was always trying to be part of the group. Always trying to like not be left out. Always wanted to be part. And I didn't like the people that I was trying to be part of. Like, it was just kind of like, didn't want to miss out. So I kept forcing myself to like fit in with these people I didn't even like, just not be left out. And the minute I started painting, all that went away. It was just like, I don't want to be following them. I want to paint. I want to stay home and paint. And I started doing that. And all these people that I was chasing after flipped and started chasing after me. Like people I started asking me, hey, can I come over and watch you paint? Like, what?
No.
Yeah, like seriously, on a Friday night, I would stay home and paint because I'd rather do that than going out. People are like, hey, can we come hang out and come out and smoke and watch you paint? Like, what? Like, you never come to my place, never like. So I started seeing the changes in my life when I started doing things that I liked. Like, oh, I can attract people by doing things that I love instead of having to chase people to do things that I don't like.
Oh, wow.
That's another paintbrush.
You know,
throwing the paintbrush after that.
And the beautiful thing is that you're building yourself. By staying true to yourself, you're building yourself. And then people see that. And then people that you really respected and thought that were cool, then you look at them and you're like, oh, that person has nothing going for them. And that person is not it might be attractive or it might be a cool person, but other than that, there's nothing valuable about them. And then you start building your own things and you're like, oh, and then people that you really admire that have positions of power see that and they're like, oh, good job. I'm like, so you just start weaving in between people. You start seeing the people that like really are good for you, people that support you, and people that just want to drain you or want to leech all your energy that you're putting out, you know, because once you're really on your roll, people will start trying to like get a little bit of that. So I just stay in your lane and just understanding like, hey, learning what persons you need to keep around, because you don't need to keep everybody around just because they're nice to you. Like that's very important. Like just because people are nice to you, it doesn't mean they're their friends. It doesn't mean that they want the best for you. It just, they want a little bit of it. And just understanding like, when is the person, this person is valued, this person is helping me grow and I can help them grow too. That's the people you want to keep around. But the people are just like taking or waiting for you to give them something, and people don't understand that. Like the people that you keep around you help you or break you.
So you've talked about, as you started pursuing your passion, the things you loved more, people were coming to you, you were kind of finding your people. But being an artist, it's a very individual profession. So do you ever feel like it's lonely being an artist?
Yeah. And it can be lonely in a room full of people, because I see things in a different way. And not that I'm saying, oh, I'm special, but like I just see things in a particular way that I don't find often people that see them in a similar way. So sometimes to relate to people, like I understand, I'm really good at like understanding people and seeing where they're coming from. But to truly understand something, you have to be part of it in order to like understand. So yes, it is a little bit lonely. I have not yet found a good tribe. I found individuals that I like connect with and I can grow with. but I haven't found a tribe of people that get excited like I do about the things that I do. And it's part of my age. Like it's just getting older. Like everybody starts having a family, or everybody starts having kids or get married and stuff. And they put their passion or things on the side. So it also makes it a little difficult the older you get to find people that have the freedom to just paint with paint. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people that we interview on the show, they talk about that same thing about, it's hard to find people that have the same passions, or like even with us, we always talk about how our friend group has been so big in helping push us and motivate us. So what keeps you motivated on days where you're like, I really don't want to paint? Like, do you need to wake up and that mentality of wake up and grind? Or
when projects are flowing, that's what keeps me excited. I think the only thing that really causes me to like stand still or to not get excited or to get anxious is the money. When money is not rolling in, or when I have to worry about like bills, that projects have not happened or I haven't sold anything, it's a little worrying, and it changes the mechanic or the way you do things. It changes the way you play with things, because I can't be wasting paint because I don't have money to buy more. So that's the only thing that it gets a little bit iffy. But other than that, it's just, I don't know. I forgot the question.
Do you ever have like dry spells where you're like, I'm not painting, like I don't feel it, that?
Yeah, that usually comes when I'm running out of money.
Okay.
Like the money that I found, I pay attention to how I feel when I'm painting. And sometimes when I'm not super creative, I pay attention to why I'm feeling that way. And number one reason is money.
Yeah.
Like when I'm worried about money, not even about paint. If I have the supplies, even if I have all the supplies, and now a corner of my brain I have to worry about the rent or this and that, it limits what I can do. I create out of fear, or I create more like working on eggshells kind of thing.
Yeah. I feel that way. That way
so
like
stressed. Yeah.
when things are slower, or like we have big bills coming up or something unexpected happens, I feel like I'm not having as much fun, because you almost feel like you can't make mistakes because your runway is shorter. So that kind of brings me to my next question. I don't know what the right term for this is. Like when I think of an artist, I think of like the term starving artist. What does that mean? Like, do you feel like a starving artist? I don't even know exactly. Is that in terms of money, or what does that mean?
I think there's beauty in being a starving artist at times. I think it's like everything else. You have to go through the struggle in order to learn the emotions of like what you need to do. Sometimes when you're running out of money, you're like, oh, I got to paint on whatever I need to paint, or I got to do this, or I got to use the paint. Or like your business, you have to figure out a way to make things happen, right? So it's just like playing with hey, if I put more practice walls, or if I put on the Instagram, like, hey, this is what I can do, then maybe I'll get me a project. And sometimes I've gone 2 or 3 months without I'm constantly late on rent. Like it's literally a thing. I'm constantly late on rent. And the only reason why I'm allowed to do that is because the guy who owns the building where I live, he's super nice. And he allows me to do that. But if it wasn't for that guy, I probably would live in a really shitty area, or it gets real sometimes. But every time I do a project, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the more projects that I do, the easier it is to move to the next one, and easier to get credibility. And, it's just building on top of what you already built. So it is stressful. It is very scary. And it's kind of a name of the game, It's like I get to do whatever I want whenever I want to, but that's also what I get for doing whatever I want to whenever I want to. You get that scare and that fear.
Yeah.
I think one of the wrap-up questions that we have is, would you see yourself more as an entrepreneur or an artist? I feel like I know this answer, but I just want to hear it from your opinion.
I love being an artist. I think artist is my definitely go-to. But because art is expensive, you have to be an entrepreneur. So you have to figure out how to do that, and how to balance all the balls at the same time without dropping any of them, and staying true to yourself. I think that's the thing, that I don't have the fear of having to find a day job if I really need to. So entrepreneur for sure too. A little bit of both, I guess.
So what does success as an entrepreneur and artist look like to you? Is it selling $100,000 painting once a year? Like, what are you thinking?
In a nutshell, the shortest answer to that would be to be able to keep producing the art that I want to produce. And that meaning, if I want to build a sculpture, to be able to build that, or if I want to build a big installation, to do that, that would be success to me. Not selling major, it's just being able to keep building the things that I want to build without having now you got to stop because you don't have money, or you got to stop because nobody's funding, or you got to stop because there's no place to paint. So that is the success, like being able to keep bumping things that excite me, that I think that I would love to see in this world. That would be a success thing for me, because I know that eventually with that, everything else comes with, like people selling or whatever the situation might be, you know. But success to me is being able to keep pushing my ideas and improving a little bit every time I put an idea out.
Do artists get managers? Like, I know you said you like just doing the art. Would you ever consider?
Yeah, I definitely would. Early on in my very first beginning, I met with a person here in Madison who's a huge, he has a company that does all sorts of amazing things. I don't want to throw his name out there, but he's been a friend, and he's put me into projects just because he likes what I'm doing. He invited me over to his studio. He's very established, like very, very, very established. And he wanted to represent me. He told me, hey, I would like to represent you because I see a lot of you, a lot in you that I saw in myself when I was younger. And I don't want you to get taken advantage of it. And I was like, yes, but I'm not ready. I told him that. Like, he's a big, big player. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not ready. And I'm not sure if he does the offer still stands. I don't think it does. But it's just having a represent. I just want someone that understands what I'm doing. I don't want someone that gets me projects. I want someone that understands what I'm doing and where I want to go.
Wow.
And if you're willing to understand that, then you can work with me to make those things happen and build together. Like, I'm looking for somebody that sees my vision. That's the thing. Like, I don't want someone that gets me a lot of gigs. If they see my vision, they'll understand where I'm going. And I'm playing chess here. I'm not trying to like get the bag right away. I'm doing things that get me there.
So we have a couple last questions just to wrap things up. Advice that you would give to your younger self. And I want to know if you have advice for other artists that are starting out.
First, the advice for other artists, it would be to do what excites them. Not what's going to sell, not what people are commenting, not what's getting the likes on Facebook. Do what excites you. Stick with that, develop that, and own it. Like, submerge yourself in things that you're excited about. Don't worry about anything else. Things will eventually fall into place. Just stay true to that. Your gut is there for a reason. Like, if you have the gut feeling of anything, listen to that, because that's your inner self telling you like, hey, this is the route, or this is not the route. So stick to your gut. Stick to your gut. Stick to your inner feeling of this is right and this is my route. And this is, whenever you feel like something's not going to work out or something's iffy, there's a reason why you're feeling that. So listen to yourself.
Then what about for your younger self?
You still feel like your younger self?
Yeah, I don't feel 34 at all. When I thought of myself as an adult, I thought like, oh, a family, this. And I don't think if that's ever going to happen. I see myself as like, I'm just in that journey to see what I can do. Like, it's just very exciting for me. So the only advice that I tell myself is just like, yeah, stay true to yourself.
Well, what's a project? Can you give us any upcoming project sneak peeks?
Yeah, so I'm currently painting a garage door for a personal for their property. I do this once in a while, like interiors or house or whatever, like private property kind of projects. I'm working in a hotel.
Yeah, what hotel? I need to know. Is it the Moxie?
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, we were right.
But anyways, I did see pictures of like what the inside's going to look like. So you're going to do, is it a mural in their upper? Like
it's in the bar. It's like the main area. So
ooh.
yeah,
it's like already designed, right?
Yes and no. The vibe is there, but the thing is abstract. Yeah, no, I'm definitely playing around with ideas. And that's another reason why I love doing what I want, because it's not like limitations. Like, how can we do it cool? And they're on board with that. Like, it's, you know, I'm jumping to projects that people see the vision of like, oh, I don't have to get exactly what I want, but I can get something cool in that one.
What else is coming up? Any other ones or places we can find you?
Well, you probably find me all over Madison, the streets, but I think Moxie, the interior, and then I'm doing Collegiate. It's on Lake Street. Mm-hmm. You know that building?
Wait,
I'm doing something.
The Collegiate.
Right next to the KK. Right there's a apartment building. I'm painting something in the lobby and then the front thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just these projects help me pay rent. If I wasn't for this, I literally would have a 9 to 5. Those are the projects for now. But I have big projects, hopefully.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then where can people find you online?
Triangulador.com. That's the main one. My up-to-date on Instagram Triangulador, just on there.
You need a TikTok.
I don't have the time to create content.
I just
Like,
want to see like a time lapse of you
yeah,
doing
I have
stuff.
a lot of them, and I have content that I can give somebody, but I just don't have the time to do that. You know, like, and I also don't want it to be corny. I don't want it to be like, that's the thing that like the reason why I don't have someone else using my content and do whatever, because I want it to feel like me.
Yeah.
I don't want it to feel like another
More expressions of art.
Or yeah, I just don't want it to be drop in the bucket. I want it to be like, oh, this is definitely him.
I would love to watch it. Like it'd be cool watching you how you do. I would have no idea. So
yeah.
Maybe I'll work on it.
just
I'll
an
get an
idea.
assistant and get them to do the TikTok and all that.
yeah.
That would
But yeah, if you guys know any reps or any people that agents or whatever, just send my way.
You guys can find us at Screw It, Let's Do This on Instagram, YouTube,
Spotify, Apple Music,
TikTok, anywhere you listen to podcasts.
subscribe and
On
tell your mom
YouTube.
to subscribe.
Give us a rating. And where can they find you?
You can find me at Tricky Foods.
And you can find me at Miggy's Bakes. Thank you so much for coming
Thanks,
on.
Triangulador.
Thanks for having me.
See you guys
See
next
ya.
time.